Okay, so this is a class activity that we're going to be doing today. Today's date is, you're going to be turning this in, so this will probably go in the fourth quarter. Not probably, will go in the fourth quarter. Today's date is 4/11. The directions, the first column is a list of some common human traits. So this column right here is a common or list of common human traits that are under genetic control. Read the trait variations in the other two columns and circle the form of trait that you have. So hands clasped together. So if you just sit like this, which hand or thumb naturally goes over the other one? So is it left over right or right over left? And that's what you circle. If you have a wave in your hair, it pretty much is it curly or straight. You either have it, you either have curly hair or you don't. Widow's peak, is that kind of like a McDonald's looking thing, or is it kind of just straight across? Dimples, you either have them or you don't. If you have one on one cheek, that still counts. So either you have at least one or you don't have any. And these are the dominant traits, meaning that's the most people might have it. Earlobes, free or attached. The attached, it goes right into, let's say here's the side of your head, it goes right there. The free is going to kind of have like almost like a little loop, so it should be just a little small piece of skin. So if you have earrings, so here would be like the little earring hole. Here's my little star earrings. It's weird. My sister has attached and I have free, I guess. Tongue can be rolled, can't be rolled. Freckles, yeah, they have them or you don't. And this is something that you have year round. I know sometimes people have more freckles in the summertime when they get more sun, but this is just going to be year round. So how many dominant traits do you have? So pretty much you have 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. And you're going to put that number here, okay? And then for the directions. So this is going to be as a class. So either Ms. Coleman or myself, depending on who you have. The total number of students, you're going to write the total number of students. Now this is not based on who is here, because not who's all in the classroom, but who's all here today. Then the number of students with the variation trait. So let's say there's 30 students in a class. I'll just do 28 because I think 28 is a good number. Let's say 18 have this trait, have the hands clasped together, and the dominant trait being left over right. So when Ms. Coleman or myself asked how many of you have your hands clasped together, have the dominant trait being the left over the right, you'd raise your hand. Let's say there's 18, meaning that 10 have the right over the left, or the recessive trait. Don't worry about the percentages right now. You can fill that chart in later, because then you would do 18 divided by 28 and 10 divided by 20. Okay, and obviously the numbers are going to change. The two columns that you really need to be focusing on for the graphs in this case are going to come from here and here, these two columns. And as you're going through, so this is going to take a little bit of time to actually gather your data. And the data is going to be what you're going to be using for your, what's those things called? Graphs, okay? And how I have them kind of together is if you look, the first graph is going to be hands clasped dominant, hands clasped recessive, wave and hand, hair dominant, hair, wave and hair recessive. So based off of my kind of funny numbers that I created here, and let's just do another one of, let's say, most people have straight hair, so we'll say 20 and 8. Because the wave and the hair, the curly was the, which one? Curly was dominant in this case. So looking at that, we have 8 and 20. So for these two numbers, this is going to be graph number 1. I'm just going to put a little number 1 here and a little number 1 here. So I'm just putting number 1s here because these two are actually going to go on this first graph. Okay, and how I have it separated out is actually these, let's see, how do I have it separated? So this is the first graph, and it's called hands clasped together and wave and hair. So those two go together. The next one is going to be hairline at forehead and dimples. And then the third graph is going to be earlobes, tongue, and freckles. So if you're looking at this, these two go together. These two go together. And then the third graph, get a different color highlighter real quick. The third one are these three. Okay. So looking at this, these two will be graphed together. And then these three will be graphed together. Okay, so looking at this, if I know these two are going to be on the first graph, and you can come back to this one. Okay, we'll come back to that one in just a minute. To do the bar graph, if you're not 100% sure how to do a bar graph, these are all bar graphs, you're not showing change over time, it's just simply information. So hands clasped dominant. So if I'm looking at this chart, here's my dominant trait. I have 18 students. So if I'm looking at this, let's see, here's 20. I know I have 60 on here, just get over that. I was originally planning on doing this as an entire 2 classes together. However, I just, yeah. So here's 15, here's 20. It's going to be probably about there. It doesn't have to be an exact science. I'm just going to shade this one in purple. And if you don't have 2 different colors, I would use, so for this one, I'm going to use recessive as blue and dominant as purple, just so I can see the 2 different colors. And then the hands class recessive was 10, so that one's easy. So if you're wondering, Miss Penny, how on earth, why does it go all the way up to 60? Because I originally was going to have both classes put together, but I just don't have the energy to. So wave and hair dominant. This one was, what, 8? So just under 10. If you don't have different colors, maybe your dominants all have circles while the recessive all have triangles. And then here's my, 20 is for this one. So right here, do. If you want to write 20, what was this one? It was 10. This one was, what, 18? And this one was, whoops, nope, that one was 8, Miss Penny. 8. Oh, yeah, because it's blurry. All right, so that is what your graph should look like. All right, pretty plain and simple. Now, these are my numbers, so yours is obviously going to look a little bit different. For this page, okay, you're just kind of looking at the data, okay, your traits compared to the rest of your classmates. Oh, for crying out loud. If I zoom in a little bit more, it won't be such a butt. Oh, goodness gracious. Maybe if I put my hand here, maybe that'll work. Probably not, though. So for this one, when it's asking the human trait, you were going to put, is it under genetic control or under environmental control? So for example, height. That is pretty much going to be under genetic control. You can't, now granted, you could wear high heels or shoes that are taller, but for the most part, your height is simply controlled by your genetics. Favorite type of music. Now, if you think this is controlled by the environment, meaning maybe it's what your parents listen to or maybe it's what your friends listen to, that's going to be controlled by the environment. Do you pop out of your mom liking country music or coming out of your mom liking hip-hop? That would be an environmental control. Athletic ability. Now, that could be something that's debatable. If, let's say, both your parents are athletic, maybe it's genetic. But let's say your parents, maybe they're not the most athletic people in the world, but they put you in lots of sports and they give you lots of training. Or maybe you have a combination. So that could be one that is both. And then just answer number 7 and number 8. Okay, that's all.